Hey everybody, this is Garrett from Earth and Time, and today we're going to go check out the USS Texas, the last of the surviving dreadnoughts, in a ship that served in World War I and in World War II. In World War II it served in Iwo Jima, it served in Okinawa, it served during the D-Day invasions. So very important historical ship, and I'm real excited to take you along with me to go take a tour of it and learn more about it. So come join me, let's go take a look and learn some history. USS Texas, or BB-35, is the last dreadnought and the last surviving capital ship to serve in both World War I and World War II. The New York class battleship was launched on May 18, 1912 and commissioned on March 12, 1914. The USS Texas was the first battleship to have anti-aircraft guns, as well as the first to launch an airplane, and it was one of the first ships with radar. Although the USS Texas served during World War I, it did not see a lot of action. However, the story was very different for World War II, where the USS Texas participated in 3 different theaters: North Africa, Europe, and the Pacific. The first action of World War II she saw was in North Africa, where she was supporting Operation Torch, an amphibious landing into Morocco, where the Allied troops were kicking off their North Africa campaign. From North Africa, USS Texas went and supported the D-Day invasions. At the D-Day invasions, it had fire missions on Omaha Beach supporting Allied troops that were landing there and moving inland. USS Texas continued to support all the way into June 16th until her guns couldn't support or cover the troops anymore. Probably the most famous engagement of the USS Texas was against the German battery Hamburg, where the USS Texas sustained damage, the one and only time she did sustain damage during the war. One of the Hamburg shells hit the conning tower of the USS Texas, killing 1 and injuring 10 others. She was also hit a second time. However, that shell never exploded, and you can actually see it today on tours. Following the support after the North African and European theaters, the USS Texas was moved to the Pacific theater, where it took part in the landing of Iwo Jima, supplying fire support for the Marines landing there. She also supported the Battle of Okinawa, where the crew stayed at general quarters, meaning all hands on deck, every man in your battle stations, for 7 weeks straight, due to the risk of kamikaze pilots attacking at any time. During some of those engagements, the USS Texas was credited with shooting down 1 kamikaze and assisting in 3 other kamikazes being shot down. Now that we've learned a little bit about the USS Texas, let's go ahead and take a tour around the ship and check out some of the sights on this last day that the USS Texas is open. One thing you can see right away are the 5-inch guns sticking out the sides, and you can see the large 14-inch guns. So as you take a look at the Battleship Texas, they have a bunch of areas you can go up and down and tour. Here's going to one of the hatches to the 5-inch gun batteries, and you can see this 5-inch gun batteries sticking out of the side here. So as we come through, we can come inside where they had the 5-inch guns, and this is where the crews would be operating at and firing these out. And so these had a range of 9 miles. They would store the initial cartridges or the initial rounds here, and then they had to put in gunpowder behind it. So it was only the shell in the front part. So this is the box where they'd load the 5-inch shells into, and then there's the powder that would go behind it. That they bring the shells in from down on, I think they said deck 5 would come up, and then the crews could grab the shells from here and load them in the back and continually fire.
When you got ready, what you would do is you would load the projectile in, then the powder bag with the propellant would go in behind that. For the 5-inch, it's 1 long cylindrical bag. There's 1 on the other hoist on the starboard side. Compressed nitrocellulose rods, like really thick pencil leads. And then behind that, at the very back of it, you have an ignition pad full of black powder. You would go ahead, put the bag in behind it, and then close the breech. Okay. So once it's closed and locked, you would go ahead and prime it, basically a pistol blank. The 5-inch guns had a range of about 9 miles.
Okay. And how big of a crew was needed to facilitate firing?
About 9 men.
Okay, and what was the rate of fire for this as well?
A good crew, 5 to 6. With training and practice, about 10-12 seconds. As time goes on, you're bringing powder bags and ammo on the same hoist up from second platform, which is essentially the 5th deck.
One one of the neat parts about walking through these ships is finding these little areas like this, so these little easeways where you'd walk between the different areas. So here's the easeway between the 5-inch guns on the port side, and I turn around and the 5-inch guns on the starboard side are on there. This is I'm not sure what this is. They have a bunch of areas closed right now because they're getting ready to move the ship, as today's the very last day. You can tour the ship for some undetermined period, but it's moving from here in San Jacinto, going to dry dock in Galveston, and where it's going to be fixed. And then we're not sure where it's going to end up. Coming up, gun turret number 1. So we can come up in here and see. So you can see the left gun barrel, and you can see the right gun barrel. Pretty neat to be inside one of these guns. So I turn this around so you all can see how tight this is. These are tight quarters. I think there must have been a gunner sitting here with this side, and then a gunner on the other side of me. So probably tight and probably hot when it was, you know, they were in the Pacific or maybe North Africa. Probably cold when they were in the Atlantic. Pretty cool to be inside one of these 14-inch gun turrets. So neat story about these anti-aircraft guns. These are actually anti-aircraft guns from the USS Missouri, as in the USS Missouri where Japan surrendered. So really cool piece of history here inside the USS Texas. All right, going to work our way up into the upper areas on deck. You can see the anti-aircraft guns here, and you can see they're allowing folks to turn them and move them. That's really cool. All right, working up to the conning tower and I guess the bridge. It's a pretty good climb up here. I can't imagine in rough seas. So they come up, look inside the windows as we go up towards the bridge. And there you go, we can see inside the bridge. They have it closed off right now. You can see right into where the helmsman would have been steering this. It's a pretty cool spot. San Jacinto monuments there. You can see the bow of the ship. Turret number 3 here is where they would have the airplanes on top of, and they would turn the turrets and then launch the planes into the wind to help them take off. And then once they do their reconnaissance or their scouting, whatever they were doing, they'd land in the water, and then these big cranes would pick up the airplanes and then put them back here on top of turret number 3, where then they'd be ready to launch again for their scouting missions. A gentleman here told me they had 3 seaplanes that were on the ship, which is amazing to think about. Where are you going to put 3 planes on this thing? But they did. Another view of turret number 3, where they would have the airplanes on here that would launch out to sea. So one of the interesting pieces of history here is the fact that there was a 240 millimeter shell that landed on the battleship Texas, but it didn't explode. So they were able to defuse it and then show it. So here's the 244 millimeter German shell. It's neat. All right, so we can head down into the second deck here, or just underneath the main deck, and take the stairs down and see what the inside of the ship looked like. So like, looks like this was a galley area or wardroom pantry. So this is where they had food stored. This is the armored citadel. So this is a really armored section within the ship. And all the sailors, thousands of sailors who must have walked through here and lived on this. Pretty interesting and pretty neat to think about the fact that my grandfather was on a ship. Nothing quite this magnitude. He was on a destroyer known as the USS Buchanan during World War II, but really neat to see. Let's go look in the wardroom. We came in the wardroom. They have music playing and they show lots of the treats that they would get. And so at commissary they would go get their little snacks and fun treats when they're on the ship. Here's some of the uniforms. Here's my grandfather used to just tell me about the SOS, the toast or shingles on toast meals with their coffee, of course. This is a really nice display showing what life was like living on the ship. We're really going all out for the very last day and being able to tour the ship. This is great. All kinds of articles out. All right, so I found where this new hologram is at. Let's go take a look. Oh, this is the officer's berthing, so this is where the officers would have been at. Oh, what's this? Hop through. See, such tight quarters. Some of the Texas officers and sailors on shore, 1945. There's some bunks here, and then these have been their lockers. Coming forward. This would have been, oh, there we go.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Dr. McCardle. I joined the ship in July 1943 as a brand new doctor after graduating from NYU Medical School and completing my residency. You might think that when we are not in battle, there's little to do, but with a crew of 1,800 men, the ship is the size of a small town. The two other doctors and I spent a lot of time treating everything from minor injuries to appendectomies to flu.
So checking out the hologram was pretty neat. When this ship comes back online and they're talking about having more of these holograms in here, it would be neat to come back and see those, because there's not always docents here, people to give tours and tell, but it's a great way and a very modernized way to take a look and learn the history. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel to keep up on all our adventures. I want to say a special thank you to the docents and the volunteers at the USS Texas. Thank you so much for sharing the information with me, as well as I'd like to thank the various websites that I pulled information from, including pictures, and those are linked and credited in the description down below. Thank you all again for joining me on the USS Texas.